Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is delegation and its recipe. So we'll talk about all the pros and cons, the drawbacks of delegations, why people do not or hesitate to delegate, what are the advantages of delegations, and so on and so forth in this particular. So basically, the act of delegating or investing with authority to act for another. That is what dictionary.com tells me about delegation. Again, I repeat, the act of delegating is nothing but investing with authority to act for somebody else, for another, or the distribution of responsibilities and authority to others while holding them accountable for their performances. This is what lawsong.com says around it. Absolutely. This the distribution of responsibilities and authorities to others while holding them accountable for their performances. So basically, we're allocating the work, and in case things goes wrong, they are solely responsible. In case things go right, they get full credit to it. That is what the delegation would be all about. So sharing or transfer of authority and associated responsibilities from an employer or superior to an employee or a subordinate. So basically, this is some from the top end. You come around and it has been distributed at the lower rung of the organization. So sharing of transfer of authority and the associated responsibilities from an employer or superior to an employee or subordinate, that needs to be taken care of. So you are basically acting on behalf of somebody else, but remember, your actions are solely your responsibilities because you have been delegated to do. So the idea of why delegate, first and foremost, to use the skill and resources already within the group. So basically, if you are growing as a person, sorry, as an organization, you just cannot keep a tab of all the movement, all the activities, all the functions in the organization. So basically, if you want to grow big, you have to start delegating to people who can run it efficiently altogether, and you as a head of an organization can focus on other scheme of things. To develop leaders is one of these criteria that comes around it, to prevent a group from getting too much dependent. So basically, you are making them self independent. You are having a well-oiled machinery in a group to become more powerful as a group. Definitely, yes. That means once you start delegating and the delegated people does a fine job with the duties and responsibilities assigned. That means as a organization, you are not only performing but excelling in all parameters. So that means you are growing in strength, both in terms of market presence, in terms of revenue, in terms of profitability, and so on and so forth. Most importantly, what happens to delegation, people become responsible, or people have that sense of camaraderie, of sense of belonging to the company that comes around it. So this allows everybody to be a part of the success. Group members feels more committed, as I've already stated around it, and most importantly, to get things. Basically, delegation is a must thing for you to excel in all cylinders. If firing in all cylinders of an organization, it helps up improving productivity, it helps the group in growing, it helps the organization member to have a sense of belongingness towards the organization, and so on and so forth. But why not people delegate? Because it is too much, or people don't trust at all. It takes a lot of time. Nobody have, or should I say, the people have their own superiority complex that people have around it, as nobody can be as efficient, as good, as proficient as a person himself or herself think to be. Or let us understand, we all have suspicious of others, that whether the person will be actively involved in working for the benefit of the organization. So therein the lies of the demerits of not, or should I say, hesitation of not delegating altogether. We will talk about these hesitation in the subsequent presentation slides. Please, before I should tell you what are the various types of delegation that comes around it. Number one is a general delegation. Remember, it's the general authority to perform all the function in his department or division. So this is what we are talking about it. So that is what types of delegation is all about it. Next is the specific delegation. What is specific delegation? Is person is given authority regarding a one particular function or one particular area or one particular duration of time. So a salesperson may be given authority to collect payments and nothing else beyond that from the debtor. Specific delegation is always precise and the subordinate clearly understand what is expected to do. So one is general delegation wherein the subordinate will be under overall guidance. Probably there are certain leg rooms where he or she can actually work upon it, but in specific delegations you have been instructed to do a one particular job and nothing. Formal delegation is when an authority is delegated as per the organization structure. Now, this is as per the delegation of the organization. If it is a top-down approach that we go around it, this is what we are going to go. If there are matrix organization that plays around here, let's say this is a matrix organization that plays. So what are we looking into it? We are working in tandem with all the matrix people all together, and this is what exactly happens. So, believe me or not, how do we go across and how do we participate is the question that comes in your mind, right? So, as per the organization structures, such delegation is effective. Informal delegation takes place when an individual agrees on under the directions of a leader who might not be appointed in the first place. No, nothing formalities about it. So you believe there is a just cause to believe in particular leader, particular person, and you start executing the work accordingly. Then there is something called written delegation. Written delegation is obviously made by the issue of office orders or instructions. Or oral delegation is somewhere which has been communicated orally or verbally and is not been doctrinized in the organization altogether. Downward delegation occurs when a superior, remember, superior assigns her duties and on behalf of him or her grants authority to the subordinate. So this is the most common type of delegation that is prevalent. Then we have the sideward delegations where there is a horizontal where a colleague probably would be assigning some of his duties to another subordinates or another of your colleagues and so on and so forth. Remember, when I say colleague, we are talking about peers or persons on the same incumbent. This is what I've been telling. How the assignment should be done is not being told at all. The end objective is clearly. So in case of the this, how if there are certain irregularities, illegalities, unethical works that might have been accounted for, so the person who is executing would be solely responsible or accountable. So benefit of delegation number one. Let us talk to the benefit about the supervisor, the manager. It reduces the workload, makes the jobs a bit easy, probably allocates a lot of time or opens up a lot of windows of opportunities for the supervisor and managers to devote to certain other things that can be done. It also encourages trust, encourages rapport building, faith among the employees, and most importantly you can do a succession planning. You can probably train the person on the job as the things goes. So benefits of the employees, number one is provides professional growth opportunities. What has been done with it? We need to understand what is been professional growth. Develops the professional knowledge and skills clearly stated around it. Elevates the self image and ultimate esteem, so you get motivated, your confidence got builds up, enhances the value of the organization. Most importantly, a person gets satisfied, has a sense of achievement being ingrained into his or her psyche, gives an opportunity to be involved in decision making and understand the pains and tribulation that goes when you are probably when you are doing a responsible job or in a critical position. So you can understand what a person, what a manager, what a supervisor undergoes when arriving into a decision which might not be very pleasant one. Right. So if decision goes in your favor in the form of a success, definitely the tribulation is all yours to go about it. All the glories belongs to you. But if it doesn't, then what happens? That is what we need to understand. So benefits teamwork definitely saves money, brings about professionalism, increased productivity and efficiency. These are the benefit of the organization. So we what have we said? We have said about the supervisors or the managers. We have said about the employees, and we have said about the organization. So we have supervisors or managers. We have spoken about the employees as such and the organization. So there are so many benefit in this particular work of delegation. So let us understand what is it we are speaking about ideals now. If you remember this word, you can understand what are the objectives, what are the steps that comes around in delegation is first and foremost thing. I stands for introduction to the staff, introduction to the objective, introduction to their duties, their responsibilities. D is to demonstrate what needs to be done, absolutely stated in black and white. E is to ensure that what you want to delegate, what you want to inform, what you want to transfer has been the transfer of knowledge has actually taken place. So E is for ensure understanding. Next, A would be for giving authorities, allocating resources, allocating information, so on and so forth. L, it's let us go. When I say let us go, is we are working as a team. It's a camaraderie thing that sets in. The spirit of team or the group sets in altogether. And S, ideals would always be support and monitor. Remember, the superior can only delegate, but he or she should always have a tab on the things as to how the things have been carried on. A proper monitor, a proper support needs to be adjudicated from time to time. It has to, the intervention has to take place, and this will only infuse confidence into the subordinates altogether. Again, IDEALS, introduction, demonstration, ensuring, allocating, let's go, and support and monitor. That what we. So we'll talk about the introducing the staff. We need to understand what we have already said about it, what exactly is the task, how it is to be done, and probably select the delegates. So that's what the introduction staff would be going around is. Use the what and why statement. You say what is to be done and why it is to be done. Make it, rationalize it, and then you will understand that people would actually go for it. And remember, the word you has to be there because you are pivotal. When you are giving a work, assigning a work to a subordinate, make him or her the focus of the communication and have a sense of spirit of ownership among. D for demonstration, clearly show with an example of what has been done, explain the objectives and discuss the time schedule there. E is for ensuring understanding. Clear communication is what we are talking about it. Having a transfer of your ideas, knowledge to the other person. Ensure that people have understood of what is expected. Ask for clarification if any. You have to ask. If not there, please ask them to paraphrase your instruction altogether. Secure commitment. Say, hear it out that he or she can do it. Don't never say no for them, and collaborate. Determine methods for follow up. The regular intervention, regular monitoring should be done, and infuse a sense of confidence building measures among subordinates. Allocate whatever what you need to allocate. You need to allocate your authority, the information and the resources. Grant authority to determine process. Remember, implement, inform everyone that this gentleman or this wonderful lady is going to look after this affairs, and everybody should extend their cooperation to the subordinate altogether. Provide access to every information sources. Refer delegated to contact person and specific resources that have assisted previously is what we are showing around it. Provide appropriate training to ensure success. This is what we look into it. If people are not adequately trained, if people have got some sort of misconception, misunderstanding, or is not enough confident enough, give them a training, show them, demonstrate them, and I'm sure people would come out in colors. So let's go. Communicate the delegates authority altogether. Step back and let them work. give them a feel of the right thing, the real life that is happening about it. Use constrained access. Do not, I repeat, do not allow for reverse delegation that comes. So support and monitor is to schedule follow-up meetings. Yes, definitely yes. Review progress, assist when requested, avoid interference, publicly praise progress and completion, and encourage problem solving that comes around it. So these are the things that needs to be taken care for every now and then with your the subordinate should not wash off his or her hand by just simply delegating it. He or she needs to keep on monitoring at every stage how the subordinate is functioning, and as on when on basis give him a proper praises, give him the requisite guidelines, show extend the support that is required. So let us understanding what exactly the common delegating errors are all about it. Foremost thing is under delegating. People often do not give an outright delegation work to the complete job and job things to the subordinate. So basically they give only a part of the job. Probably that is something which is under delegating. And then there is something called over delegating, wherein people not only give a task, they give a job, they give an activity, they give a departmental functional ability without comprehending the proficiency of the subordinate, without comprehending the understanding of the subordinate or the capacity of the subordinate that we are talking about it. That is where the subordinate has been pressurized, and probably the subordinate will flounder, will actually fail miserably. So that is what is over delegating is all about it. And improperly delegating, where the communication has not been done in a proper fashion, clearly not been stated, probably not been demonstrated, or support was not been extended. Remember the IDs that we are talking around it. So, did I say in the very beginning what are the barriers that comes on the part of a superior or delegators, perhaps the managers, for delegations? Something they always want to be in a limelight, and as a result, they have a feeling that every time they delegate, somebody else is going to steal their thunder or steal their limelight altogether. So, the manager, the superior, the delegator would always resist from delegating. So what are they interested, what kind of person these people are? They are basically autocratic. They want to be feel the having of sense of power within them, and that is what limits them from delegating altogether. Next is the unwillingness of the managers to delegate authority. Why? Because they have a superiority complex. They always believe that the work that needs to be delegated will be only been shoddily done by a subordinate. They are the precise person who can do it in a much better fashion. Next comes the lack of trust and confidence in subordinates. Now, this is where people undermine subordinates' potential altogether. They do not have faith in them, trust in them, or probably they have that superiority complex that shines very boldly all. Yes, there's a fear of competition. Managers often are pitted against similar managers in a similar position. Now, everybody wants to outshine one another. That is what we are looking into it. We have to work for the subordinates good performances. Remember, if the subordinate does not performs well, it is the managers who are going to be penalized altogether. So that needs to be understood every now and then. So lack of ability to direct, definitely yes. Sometimes managers have experiences difficulties and controlling, monitoring, and probably end up interfering more often than than others. And the end of the at the end of the day, the very purpose of delegation um, vanishes altogether. It seems that the manager himself or herself would be doing the complete work that was supposed to be delegated. So probably that is what the lack of ability. There are inherent capabilities as in too much of protection or too much of interference that takes place. So desire to dominate the subordinate. This is what I have been trying to tell you about the superiority complexes. They need to the managers, superiors often believe that every subordinate is inferior and they will not improve over a period of time. They require to be completely dominated and probably hesitate in delegating anything to subordinates. So managers more often than known, if you look into it, a lot of prodding and this thing has been done. People have been instructed, people have been directed, people have not been clearly stated, people have not been made to understand what is expected of the work. So they, what essentially happens is managers themselves do not know how to delegate. This is what we need to understand. They do not follow the IDEALS, ideals step to delegation properly, and that is what this implement altogether. Now, this was the barriers for the superiors, managers, and the bosses. Let us understand what are the barriers and superior barriers to the subordinates or the workers, employees below the supervisor who are supposed to be delegated. Number one, they get too much dependent on managers. They almost are used to spoon feeding. When people are used to spoon feeding, they would love to be in that comfort zone and would not like to assume any responsibilities altogether. So that means too much of dependence on the manager. Fear of criticism, definitely yes. People are apprehensive. They don't think that I am there to do a good day's work, which has been directed, stated clearly. But if I have been asked to make decision on behalf of somebody, if there are new work areas that has been assigned to me, people might object me to ridicule. They might actually criticize me, they might actually end up humiliating me for maybe if I'm not able to complete the work in the desired fashion. Now that this fear of criticism always lurks in the corner, at the back of the mind of subordinates. So lack of information is another thing. A subordinate hesitates a new assignment. Why? Because he doesn't have the requisite information. Why? Because requisite information might not have been given to me in the first place. Why? Because he might not himself inquired about the requisite information, which he encounters during the process of doing the delegated work. So please understand, this lack of information is very pertinent. This should be a transparent view for the subordinates to together. Absence of positive incentive is one of the major things. Probably what happens is, once delegated and the subordinate does a wonderful job with it, who gets the glory? The subordinate doesn't get it. It is the person who have delegated. And this goes in a long way to hinder the morale of the subordinates. The motivation of the subordinate gets dented. Remember, in absence of any incentive such as this, or in terms of, let's say, I'm talking about recognition, a small incentive like appreciations, monetary benefit, goes in a long way to foster the sense of delegation and probably the confidence of subordinates altogether. Talking about this confidence is what the lack of confidence is all about. It, a subordinate might be not that confident to take wonderful decision, correct decision, impromptu decision which a supervisor or a managers would have been taking it. So that prevents him or her to take from a new challenging function because of the lack of confidence. Difficulties in decision making, a subordinate may not have the skills, the expertise to take quick decisions. See, at the pictures which I've shown it to you, there are so many opportunities goes around it. There are so many one decision and so many outcomes that comes around. So we are talking about here. We need to understand which decisions to take place, which are forward looking, which are going to take you back out the directions altogether. A poor subordinate superordinate relationships. Remember, the superior, the boss, and the employees relationship might not be on a right plank altogether, and this might actually prevent them from functioning in the utmost capacity that is there. So this is what we are looking. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.